if you guys have been following Marcus for a month, a year, a few years, you know that he doesn't try to sound smart. He's just telling his story and he's teaching something at the same time, which is something I really admire about you. But before we dive into all about connecting with the audience, because I want people to understand the steps it takes, the journey it takes to become a better speaker and have the impact that you want on stage. How long have you been speaking for?
Well, you know what? So I was scared to death of speaking when I was younger, believe it or not. And in my high school, quick story for you, I had a buddy that was running for student body president, so president of our class. And we did this weird thing where if somebody was running for office, they would get a friend to read their speech for them. And so my friend got me to read, this was when I was probably 15. He got me to read his speech in front of the student body, which was, I guess, about 200 or 300 students. And so I got in front of the audience and I started to read, and I immediately started to feel this heat come over me. And then the sweat started to come and the flashes, and I was stumbling over my words, and I almost passed out on stage. I was so nervous. And that was when I was 15, and I sat down. My buddy says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay. I am never going to speak in front of an audience like that again." That's what I said when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And then when I was 20, I actually was a missionary for my church. And that's when I had to get over my issues. And I was thrust into situations where, all of a sudden I would be speaking in front of 100 people, just all of a sudden. And I had to really, I learned, man, and I had to just get comfortable with it. And I realized, wow, this is something that not only can I be decent at, but I do this better than a lot of people. And it wasn't an arrogance thing. It wasn't like I was saying, "Oh, I'm better than that guy." It was like I noticed that I was having a huge amount of success as a missionary. And the reason why I was having so much success was because I had this ability to explain complex things in a way that people could understand them and relate to them. And if somebody wasn't getting it, I was so focused on the person that I just wouldn't allow myself just to keep going. A lot of communicators, they're so into what they're saying, they don't realize the other person, they've lost them, or they don't get it, or they've glazed over. So I've always been keenly aware of the audience, right? And so that was by the age 23, 24. But then I became a pool guy, and I didn't speak anywhere for a while. But then after this stuff started to happen with my business and the collapse and then what we were doing, I was like, man, I want to start speaking about this. And I had this urge, Jossif, to speak more. And so here's how I got my first gig, all right? I said, man, I want to speak at the National Swimming Pool Convention. I'd been there. I attended that conference. I was in that industry. And so what I did is I found out who the main organizer was for the event. And there was a lady named Tracy Ballou. That was her name, Tracy Ballou. And so found out where her office was. And so I went to the conference, and I actually, unscheduled, I walked into her office while she was there. She didn't know I was coming. And she said, "Yes, can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, Tracy, my name is Marcus Sheridan, and I'm the best speaker you've never had." And she started to laugh, right? And she's like, "Really? What can you speak on?" And I, of course, said, "Well, what do you need a speaker for?" And she said, "I need somebody to speak on hot tub sales." And I said, "Tracy, I will give the best hot tub sales session you've ever had if you just give me the chance." And keep in mind, I was young. I was about 31. They didn't have any speakers that were that young. They're all like 40 and above. And she laughed again, and she said, so how do I know you can speak? I said, and this is when we actually used DVDs. And so I had this DVD, right?
So this was really back in the days.
Yeah. I had this DVD. This is about 10 years ago now. Well, about 9 years ago. And I said, this DVD I created for our customers. I did it on one take. And this is what we send out to leads. If you like what you see here, well, then maybe you'll give me a chance in front of your audience. And she said, okay, I'll give it a look. And then a few days later, she called me and said, okay, Marcus, you win. I'm going to give you the shot. And that's when my career started right there.